I started noticing the pattern 3 months after Mr. Garrett moved in next door. He was a strange man in his 60s, tall and thin with grey hair always pulled back in a ponytail. He kept to himself mostly, which was fine by me. Our neighborhood was the kind of place where people valued privacy, but I'm an amateur astronomer. I spend a lot of nights in my backyard with my telescope, and from that vantage point I could see directly into Mr. Garrett's yard. That's how I noticed what he did every full moon. At exactly midnight, he'd come outside with a shovel and a small wooden box. He'd dig a hole in a different spot each time, always roughly 2 feet deep, place the box inside, and cover it back up. Then he'd go inside without a word, leaving the freshly turned earth behind. The first time I saw it, I figured he was burying time capsules or something eccentric like that. The second time, I thought it was odd, but harmless. By the third time, I was curious. What was in those boxes? Why always at midnight? Why only during full moons? Then my cat disappeared. Milo was an orange tabby I'd had for 6 years. He was indoor-outdoor, always came home by dinner. But one evening, he didn't show up. I called for him, searched the neighborhood, posted flyers, nothing. He'd simply vanished. 2 weeks later, there was another full moon. I watched through my telescope as Mr. Garrett performed his ritual again. New hole, new box, same midnight timing. And the next morning I made a decision I'd later regret. I waited until Mr. Garrett left for his weekly grocery run, then I went into his yard with my own shovel. I found the most recent burial spot. The earth was still loose, and I started digging. What I found in that box wasn't a time capsule, it was Milo, my cat. But he wasn't dead. He was something much worse. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave your like, because the ending of this story will shake you in ways you never imagined. And tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching this story? Now, let's begin. My hands were shaking as I lifted the wooden box from the hole. It was old, hand-carved, with strange symbols etched into the lid. And it was moving. Something inside was scratching, trying to get out. I almost dropped it, almost buried it back and pretended I'd never seen it. But I heard a sound from inside, a meow. Milo's meow. I opened the box. Milo was inside, curled up, alive. His orange fur was the same. His green eyes looked at me with recognition. But something was wrong. His body was cold to the touch. He didn't blink. And when he climbed out of the box and rubbed against my leg, I felt nothing. No warmth, no purr vibration, nothing. He was alive, but not living. "Milo," I whispered. He looked up at me and meowed again. It sounded right, but hollow somehow, like an echo of a meow. I picked him up. He weighed almost nothing, like he was made of air, and carried him home. My hands were still shaking. My mind was racing with questions. What had Mr. Garrett done to my cat? How was Milo alive after being buried for 2 weeks? And most importantly, what else was buried in that backyard? That night, I couldn't sleep. Milo sat at the foot of my bed like he used to, but he never moved, didn't shift positions, didn't curl up, just sat perfectly still, staring at the wall. At 3 a.m. I got up and went to my window. Mr. Garrett was standing in his backyard, looking directly at my house. Even from this distance, I could see he was smiling. He knew I'd dug up Milo, and he didn't seem upset about it. That terrified me more than anything. The next morning, Milo hadn't moved from his spot. I tried to feed him. He just stared at the food bowl. Tried to pet him. His fur felt like dried grass. He was a shell, an empty vessel that looked like my cat, but wasn't. I needed answers. I went online and searched for anything related to burial rituals, full moons, and resurrection. Most of what I found was occult nonsense, but one forum post caught my attention. A user named Watcher in the Woods described a similar situation. "My neighbor buries things during full moons. I dug one up. Found my dog. It came back wrong. Not dead, not alive, just empty, like a puppet." I messaged the user immediately. No response. I checked Mr. Garrett's yard from my window. I counted the spots where the earth had been disturbed over the past months. 12 spots. 12 full moons. 12 burials. What else was under there? That evening, I worked up the courage to confront Mr. Garrett. I knocked on his door. He answered, that same unsettling smile on his face. "I know you took something from my yard," he said before I could speak. "Would you like to know what it was?" I swallowed hard. "What did you do to my cat?" "I gave him back to you. Isn't that what you wanted?" He's not right. He's not really alive." Mr. Garrett's smile widened. "Nothing I bring back is really alive, but they're not dead either. They're in between, and they serve a purpose." "What purpose?" He stepped aside, gesturing for me to enter. "Come inside. Let me show you." Every instinct told me not to go in, but I needed to understand what was happening. I needed to know if there was a way to fix Milo, to make him truly alive again. So I stepped across the threshold into Mr. Garrett's house, and I immediately knew I'd made a terrible mistake. Mr. Garrett's house was full of animals, cats, dogs, rabbits, birds, dozens of them, all perfectly still, all staring at nothing. They were positioned throughout the living room like statues, frozen in various poses. None of them moved. None of them made a sound. "My collection," Mr. Garrett said proudly. "Every one of them was lost. Everyone buried in my backyard during a full moon. And everyone brought back. I felt sick. Why? Why would you do this?" "Because death is temporary. Most people don't understand that. The barrier between life and death is thin, thinnest during the full moon. With the right ritual, the right sacrifice, anything can be brought back. But they're not really back, they're empty. Their bodies are back. Their souls." He shrugged. "Souls are complicated. Sometimes they return fully. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes something else comes back instead." I backed toward the door. "You're insane. I'm a collector, and I've gotten very good at my craft." He moved to block the door. "Your cat was special, though. Usually I only take strays. Animals no one will miss. But Milo kept coming into my yard like he wanted to be chosen, so I took him. You killed my cat. I transformed your cat. And now he's the beginning of something new." Mr. Garrett's expression darkened. "You see, every animal I bring back is connected. They're all part of a network, a collective. And when I have enough of them, when the collection is complete, something wonderful will happen." "What will happen?" "They'll all wake up at once, truly wake up, and whatever consciousness inhabits them will be strong enough to cross over completely. My daughter tried to explain it to me before she died. She was studying dimensional metaphysics. She understood things I still don't. I realized then, this wasn't about animals. This was about Mr. Garrett trying to bring back his dead daughter, and all these creatures were just vessels, experiments, sacrifices to that goal. "I'm leaving," I said firmly, "and I'm taking Milo with me. You need help. You can leave, but Milo won't go with you. He's part of the collection now, and once something is part of the collection, it belongs to me." As if on cue, I heard scratching at my front door across the yard. I looked through Mr. Garrett's window and saw Milo sitting on my porch. He'd followed me somehow, but his eyes weren't green anymore. They were white, empty, glowing slightly in the darkness. "You see?" Mr. Garrett said softly. "He's already changing. Soon, he won't remember you at all." I ran from Mr. Garrett's house and grabbed Milo from my porch. He didn't resist, just hung limply in my arms. I brought him inside and locked every door and window. "What did he do to you?" I whispered. Milo's white eyes stared at me blankly. I called the police, told them my neighbor had killed my cat and was keeping dead animals in his house. The dispatcher sounded skeptical, but said they'd send an officer. 2 hours later, a police officer knocked on my door. I showed him Milo, explained everything. The officer listened patiently, then said, "Sir, your cat is clearly alive, and what your neighbor does in his own yard isn't illegal unless we have proof of animal cruelty. Did you go in his house? Did you see the other animals?" Mr. Garrett showed me his home. He has several taxidermied animals. He's a hobby taxidermist. He has all the proper permits. There's nothing illegal about it. Taxidermy. Of course, that's what Mr. Garrett would tell them. A perfect cover story. After the officer left, I researched taxidermy and resurrection rituals, found forums about necromancy, about ceremonies that could bind souls to bodies. Most of it seemed like fantasy, but one post mentioned something called the cycle of return. The cycle requires 12 offerings over 12 full moons. On the 13th moon, the collector must offer something of themselves: blood, hair, a memory. This completes the circuit and allows true resurrection, not of the offerings but of what the collector desires most. 12 offerings. Mr. Garrett had buried 12 boxes. The next full moon would be the 13th. Whatever he was planning, it would happen then. I looked at Milo, still frozen in place. "I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make you real again." But I had no idea how. And the full moon was only 3 days away. I spent the next 2 days researching everything I could about resurrection rituals and necromancy. Most sources were unreliable, but I found a book in the university library, Liminal Practices, Death Rituals Across Cultures. One chapter discussed vessel resurrection, the practice of bringing back the dead by housing their souls in temporary vessels. According to the text, the vessels needed to be prepared through burial during specific lunar phases. The full moon was ideal because the barrier between worlds was thinnest, but there was a warning. Incomplete vessels may be inhabited by opportunistic entities. What returns may not be what was lost. That explained Milo. His body had returned, but his soul hadn't. Something else was inhabiting him now, wearing him like a costume. The book also mentioned that vessel rituals required a completion ceremony where all vessels would be united, allowing the desired soul to choose a permanent host. That's what Mr. Garrett was planning. He'd bring back his daughter by giving her a choice of vessels. But what happened to the animals after that? Would they be freed, or would they remain as empty shells? I went back to Mr. Garrett's house that evening. He was in his backyard preparing for the full moon ritual. I confronted him over the fence. "Your daughter wouldn't want this. She wouldn't want you killing innocent animals for her." He stopped digging and looked at me. "My daughter doesn't have a choice. She's been trapped between worlds for 3 years, unable to move forward or back. I'm giving her a way home." By creating an army of dead animals? By creating options, bodies she can inhabit. And once she chooses, once she returns fully, I can finally rest. "This is wrong. You know it's wrong." Mr. Garrett's expression hardened. "You have Milo back. Be grateful. Many people never get a second chance with their pets, even a flawed one. He's not Milo. He's something wearing Milo's skin. Then give him back to me. Let me bury him again or keep him and accept what he's become. Those are your only options." I went back inside, defeated. Milo was sitting exactly where I'd left him, staring at nothing. I tried one more time to connect with him, calling his name, offering treats, playing with his favorite toys. Nothing. He was gone. What remained was just a shell. That night I made a decision. I was going to stop Mr. Garrett's ritual, whatever it took. The full moon was tomorrow night. I had one day to figure out how to disrupt Mr. Garrett's ceremony. I went back to the university library and found more information about vessel rituals. According to the texts, the ceremony required 3 things: the vessels, animals, the offering, Mr. Garrett's blood or essence, and the anchor, something belonging to the deceased. If I could destroy the anchor, the ritual would fail. I needed to get back into Mr. Garrett's house and find what he was using as his daughter's anchor. It would be something personal, jewelry, clothing, maybe a photo. That afternoon I watched Mr. Garrett leave for his usual Wednesday errands. I had maybe 2 hours. I broke into his house through a back window and started searching. I found it in his bedroom, a small wooden box identical to the ones he buried. Inside was a silver locket with a photo of a young woman, his daughter. The locket was surrounded by dried flowers and a lock of hair. This was the anchor. I grabbed it and ran back to my house. I had the anchor. Without it, the ritual couldn't work. Mr. Garrett couldn't bring his daughter back. But as I sat in my living room, holding the locket, I felt conflicted. This man had lost his daughter. He was desperate and grieving, and I was about to destroy his one hope of seeing her again. Milo walked over and sat at my feet, his white eyes staring up at me. Not really Milo, just a shell. How many more animals would Mr. Garrett sacrifice? How many more lives would he ruin trying to bring back someone who was gone? I made my decision. I would destroy the anchor, and I would face whatever consequences came from that. But Mr. Garrett came home early. I heard his car in the driveway, heard his footsteps on his porch. Then I heard him in my backyard. He was coming for the locket, and he knew I had it. Mr. Garrett broke through my back door with surprising strength. He stood in my kitchen, his face twisted with rage. "Give it back. Give me my daughter's locket. I can't let you complete the ritual. You're hurting innocent animals. They're already dead. I'm giving them purpose. I'm giving them meaning." His voice broke. "And I'm giving my daughter a chance to live again. You have no right to take that from me. Your daughter is dead. She's been dead for 3 years. This won't bring her back, not really. It'll just create something that looks like her. I don't care, even a shadow of her is better than nothing." He lunged forward, trying to grab the locket from my hands. We struggled. The locket fell to the floor, and Milo, who had been sitting quietly nearby, suddenly moved. His white eyes began to glow brighter. He walked over to the locket and sat on it, guarding it. Mr. Garrett and I both stopped, staring at the cat. "Milo?" I whispered. The cat's mouth opened, but the voice that came out wasn't a meow, it was human, female, young. "Dad, stop!" Mr. Garrett fell to his knees. "Sarah? Baby, is that you?" "Stop this," the voice continued through Milo's body. "Let me go. Let all of us go. We're not meant to come back this way. But I need you. I can't live without you. You have to. You have to let me rest, and you have to let these animals rest too. What you're doing, it's keeping us all trapped. None of us can move forward while you hold on." Mr. Garrett was crying now, his hands reaching toward Milo. "I just wanted one more chance to say goodbye." "Then say it now. Say goodbye, and let me go." The light in Milo's eyes began to fade. Mr. Garrett grabbed the cat gently, holding him like a child holds a beloved toy. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry. Goodbye, Sarah. I love you. I'll always love you." The light went out completely. Milo's body went limp. Whatever had been inhabiting him, whether it was truly his daughter or something else, was gone. Mr. Garrett held the now empty cat for a long moment, then carefully set him down. He looked at me with hollow eyes. "I'll dig them all up. Release them all. Tomorrow, after the moon passes. No ritual, no ceremony, just burial. Proper burial." The next day, Mr. Garrett and I dug up all 12 burial spots in his backyard. Each wooden box contained an animal, cats, dogs, birds, all in the same suspended state Milo had been in. Not alive, not dead, just empty. We brought them all to a veterinary crematorium. The vet asked no questions, just took the animals and promised to handle them with care. "They'll finally rest," Mr. Garrett said quietly as we drove home. "What about Milo?" "Him too. I'll bring him tomorrow." That night I sat with Milo's empty shell. I remembered the real Milo, how he used to purr, how he'd knock things off tables just to get attention, how he'd curl up on my lap while I watched TV. This thing that looked like him had none of that warmth, none of that personality. But for a moment, when his daughter had spoken through him, there had been something. A flicker of consciousness, of life. Maybe that's what the ritual was supposed to do. Give trapped souls a way to communicate, to say goodbye. Mr. Garrett had perverted it, tried to make it permanent, but the original purpose had been compassion, not control. The next morning I woke up to find Milo's body gone. I looked out my window and saw Mr. Garrett in his yard, filling in the holes, planting flowers over each spot. He looked up, saw me watching, and nodded once. Then he continued his work. I never saw the animals again. I assume he cremated them all, released whatever fragments of spirit remained. But sometimes on full moons I see Mr. Garrett in his yard. He's not digging anymore. He's just standing there looking up at the moon, saying goodbye to his daughter over and over again. I got a new cat a month later, a black kitten from the shelter, full of energy and life. I named her Luna. She was warm, she purred, she knocked things off tables. She was everything Milo had been before Mr. Garrett's ritual took him. But I found myself watching her carefully, making sure she stayed inside, making sure she never wandered into Mr. Garrett's yard. Because even though he'd stopped the rituals, even though he'd released all the animals, I couldn't shake the feeling that something still lingered. The symbols on those wooden boxes, I'd photographed them before we buried the animals. I'd shown them to a professor who specialized in occult history. She'd gone pale when she saw them. These are summoning marks, not for resurrection, for invitation. Whoever carved these was inviting something to cross over, using the animals as anchors. What kind of something? Something that feeds on grief, on desperation, something that promises reunion with the dead but delivers only emptiness. I thought about Mr. Garrett, about how desperate he'd been. Had he known what he was really doing, or had something manipulated him, used his grief as a gateway? I went to his house to warn him, to tell him that he might have been influenced by something malevolent, but when I knocked on his door there was no answer. I looked through the window. The house was empty, furniture gone, no animals, no Mr. Garrett. He'd left, disappeared, and I had a terrible feeling about where he'd gone. 3 days later I received a package, no return address. Inside was a wooden box with those same symbols carved into it, and inside the box was a note in Mr. Garrett's handwriting. "I'm going to find her. The real way this time. Don't follow me." I buried the box in my backyard without opening it fully. Whatever was inside, whatever Mr. Garrett had left behind, I wanted no part of it. But sometimes, on full moons, I hear scratching from that spot in my yard. Something trying to get out. I never dig it up. Some things are better left buried. 6 months after Mr. Garrett disappeared, a lawyer contacted me. Apparently he'd left his house to me in his will. Mr. Garrett had no living relatives, the lawyer explained, and he specified that you should inherit his property. He said you'd understand why. I didn't want the house, didn't want anything to do with it, but legally it was mine now. I went inside for the first time since that day we'd cremated the animals. The house was empty, except for one room, his daughter's bedroom, preserved exactly as she'd left it. On her desk was a journal. I opened it and found her last entry, dated the day she died. Dad's been obsessed with bringing Mom back ever since she died. He found these rituals online, thinks they're real. I've tried to tell him it's just grief making him believe in magic, but he won't listen. I'm worried about him. I'm worried about what he might do. So Mr. Garrett had done this before. First with his wife, then with his daughter, an endless cycle of grief and desperate rituals. I kept reading. Sarah had written about the symbols, about their true purpose. These marks don't bring back the dead. They trap souls in a cycle, keep them from moving forward. Anyone who uses them is condemned to chase ghosts forever. Mr. Garrett had known. Or at least, Sarah had tried to warn him. But grief is a powerful thing. It makes you believe in impossible solutions. I burned the journal, burned everything in that room. Then I sold the house to a developer who tore it down and built a new one. But I kept one thing, a photo of Sarah and Mr. Garrett, taken when she was young, both of them smiling, before death and grief had twisted him into something desperate and dangerous. I put the photo on my mantle as a reminder that love can become obsession, that grief can become madness, and that some doors, once opened, can never truly be closed. Luna the cat jumped up beside the photo and meowed. A real, living, warm sound. I petted her and felt grateful for the simple miracle of a living creature, not brought back, not resurrected, just alive. That was enough. I wish I could say the story ended there, that I moved on, that Luna lived a long, happy life, that I forgot about Mr. Garrett and his rituals. But 3 years after he disappeared, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered and heard Mr. Garrett's voice. "I found a way," he said. "A real way. No empty shells, no false vessels. I found where they go when they die, and I'm bringing her back." "Mr. Garrett, where are you?" "At the place where the barrier is thinnest, where life and death touch. I can see her. She's right there. I just need to cross over and bring her back." "Don't. Whatever you think you see, it's not real. It's the same thing that fooled you before. You're wrong. This is different. This is—" His voice cut off. I heard sounds in the background. Wind. Whispers. Something that might have been laughter or might have been screaming. Then silence. I never heard from Mr. Garrett again. But every full moon, I get a call from that same number. No one speaks. I just hear sounds, digging, breathing, the soft thump of something being buried. And last month I found a wooden box on my doorstep. Same symbols, same design. I didn't open it. I called the police, told them I'd received a suspicious package. They opened it carefully, expecting drugs or explosives. Inside was a collar. Luna's collar, the one she was wearing. I looked down at Luna sitting at my feet. She still wore her collar. She was fine, healthy, warm, alive. So whose collar was in the box? The police took it as evidence but found nothing unusual about it. Just a normal cat collar. But I know better. Somewhere in whatever place Mr. Garrett found, there's another version of reality. Another version of my life. And in that version, something wearing Luna's collar is waiting to cross over. I buried the box in my backyard, in the same spot where I'd buried Mr. Garrett's original box. Now there are two things trying to dig their way out on full moons. I've started staying at hotels during full moons. I take Luna with me. We leave the house empty, dark, silent, because I've learned what Mr. Garrett never did. Some loves are too dangerous to hold on to. Some grief is too powerful to indulge. And some doors once opened will forever have something trying to come through. My neighbor buried something every full moon. I dug it up and found my cat. But what I should have found was a warning, because the ritual never really ended. Mr. Garrett didn't stop it. He just moved it somewhere else, somewhere I can't see, can't stop. And every full moon I feel it getting closer. Whatever he summoned, whatever he invited, it's still coming. And I have a terrible feeling it's coming for me.